Today we're making buttermilk pancakes from Cook's Illustrated Recipes. And the first thing you need to do is turn your electric griddle on to 350 degrees. If you're making a lot of pancakes for just a few people, you can heat up a baking sheet and a cooling rack. Put the cooling rack in the baking sheet, spray it with nonstick spray, and then heat your oven to 200 degrees and put this in the oven. Then after you cook your first batch of pancakes, you can put it in on the heated cooling rack, and that will keep the pancakes warm until all of your pancakes have been cooked. To make pancakes, you use the muffin mixing method, which is when you measure all your dry ingredients and put them in one bowl and mix them together, and then all your liquid ingredients in another bowl. So first I'm measuring my flour, overfilling, leveling off. And this recipe calls for just a general all-purpose flour, which should have a low protein. Okay, here's my 1 cup of flour. I need 1 tablespoon of sugar, half teaspoon of baking powder, quarter teaspoon of baking soda, and a quarter teaspoon of salt. Let's see where the measuring spoon is. Okay, then I will just whisk these together to make sure that they're fully mixed. And make a well in the center, which just gives the liquids a place to go. So you just kind of spread the flour mixture up the sides of the bowl. Set this aside while we do our liquids. For the liquids, I need 1 cup of buttermilk. And you can see buttermilk is thicker than regular milk. Two tablespoons of sour cream. One large egg, and 1½ tablespoons of unsalted butter. 1½. Just use the wrapper and cut the lines. And this is accidental. I have salted butter, that's all I have in the house. So I think my pancakes will be a little on the salty side. That's okay. Put my butter and melt it in the microwave for a very small amount of time. Keep an eye on it. You don't want to make it too hot because then you do have to wait for it to cool off again. So I'm going to start with 15 seconds and see how it goes. My butter was very hard. It was right out of the refrigerator, and this was 30 seconds in my microwave, and you can see there's still a solid piece, but I can just kind of stir that in. It's better to under melt it than over melt it, because you can see the extra heat from that melted butter will just kind of help melt the solid piece. That way I don't have to wait for it to cool a long time. Okay, so now I'll pour my butter in with the rest of my liquids. And then I will mix my liquids together. I have my sour cream, my egg, my buttermilk, and my melted butter. And so now this is my second bowl with my liquid mixture. The first bowl had my dry mixture. This second bowl has my liquid mixture. I want to get my egg yolk beat up a little bit more. And then I will pour my liquids into my dry. And again, this is the muffin mixing method, when you do your dry and your liquid and then you pour them together. Okay, so now I'll pour my liquids into my dry. And I want to make sure not to over mix. Because when you mix, it develops the gluten in the flour, and gluten is the protein that's in the flour. So I want to just combine it enough so that so that the liquid and dry are just combined. It's okay if there are some streaks of flour left. Okay, it's all right if it's a little bit lumpy. This is pretty good. I'm not going to get all the lumps out, and that's okay. Here, that's good. There's still some small lumps, and that's all right. Now, at home, you should let the mixture rest for 10 minutes, because the stirring developed some of the gluten in the protein. But if you can let it rest for 10 minutes, it helps to relax, and that will make a more tender pancake. At school, I don't really want you to wait for 10 minutes because we don't have enough time. So we'll cut here and go to the next step. Once you have the griddle heated, then go ahead and pour on a teaspoon of oil and smear it around. If you have excess, then you can use a paper towel to kind of blot it off, but I don't think I'm going to have any excess. Now, to test and make sure that the skillet is ready, you can get drops of water on your fingers, and it should sizzle, of course, when you splash the water down. Or you can use about 1 tablespoon of your batter and make a little mini pancake. And you'll let that cook for 1 minute, and then see how dark it is on the bottom after 1 minute. If it looks to be nice golden brown after 1 minute, you have the right temperature. If it's still mushy and not cooked, you need to turn the heat up, and if it's overcooked, you need to turn the heat down. So we'll give this a minute test. Okay, so my little mini pancake is not quite really golden brown, so I have turned up the heat. And now we'll go ahead and start making the rest of the batter, the pancakes. So I'm going to use a 1/4 cup measuring cup just to kind of help keep the size of my pancakes uniform. Do try to get as many on at a time as you can to save time. Okay, and what you're looking for to see when they're done is you'll see bubbles coming to the surface and starting to break. That one's gonna go there. And then the edges of the pancake should start to dry out a little bit. They should set before it's time to flip. You only want to flip your pancakes one time, not multiple times. So you just have to be patient and wait about 2 to 3 minutes, waiting for more bubbles to appear at the surface and the edges to get dry. So let's pause it here. All right, this pancake, you can start to see the edge there is starting to set and get a little bit dry right there. There's a bubble that has popped. So I think, and this one back here is definitely starting to set. So I'm going to check. Yeah. I think this one's ready too. Okay, so they're nice and golden brown. And so it doesn't take as long on the second side. So just keep an eye on them, and we'll take them off in a minute. All right, now that this batch is done, I am going to put mine on the cooling rack because I'm saving them for my son's breakfast in the morning. But if you wanted to, you could put them in the oven on 200 like I showed you in the beginning. And now I'm going to go ahead, and I still have enough oil that I don't need to add any more. And I'll go ahead and cook up my second batch. I think we have it from here. When you're done with your pancakes, make sure that you unplug the griddle so that it cools while you're eating. Turn it off first, and then unplug it from the wall, and then unplug it from the griddle. Then also remember to pull out your grease tray and wash that separately. So we'll go to the sink and I'll show you how to properly wash the griddle. And also one thing I forgot to mention is that the pancake batter is a pour batter. It has a 1-to-1 ratio, so it's a pour batter. Take your controller and wipe it off. Wipe off the cord because sometimes pancake batter gets splattered on the cord. Wash your grease tray. And then this is the plug part up here. You keep the plug part up out of the water, and then, but the rest of it can go into the water. And you just use your dishcloth to get the hot soapy water all over the griddle surface. Then you rinse and dry like normal.